excited. Season 2 of Delhi Crime is here. I'm in conversation with the director Tanuj Chopra. The two wonderful actors Rasika Duggal and Shefali Shah returned from season 1, Madam Sir, aka, and we have psychopath added. This one's called Tillotama Shome. But that's of course the character. We will be discussing that. And first of all, let me start off with the mood check. When I watch this series, I need a palate cleanser after an episode. When I'm done for the day, I'm like, no, now I need to kind of shift my mood with something else. So as people working on this, creating this, how do you do it? Do you immerse yourselves or do you also detach, come back?
Different on different days, honestly. Some days I don't want to do anything else after a day of shoot. Some days I just I only want sleep so that I can get to set the next day. And there are some days that I feel that I need to watch something else so that there's de-stressing from the whole material. But largely I think on shooting days it is an immersive experience and you kind of, just sort of dealing with what you've shot that day and trying to prepare yourself for what's to come at you the next day.
Well, yeah, I've seen you. You are a very prepared actor. You need to know not only your lines, everyone else's lines, everyone else's cues, everything. I know that about you. But Shefali ma'am, how do you approach a series like this, which is so heavy?
When I'm doing something, any project, I'm completely consumed by it. I'm obsessed with it. So I don't want to disconnect from it. It doesn't mean that if I'm doing a difficult scene, I go back home and I go around screaming, shouting, raving, ranting at people. So I go home, shower, have a conversation, and then get back into the script.
So you keep a part of it with you. It's like living life in between. I don't know if it is
it's not a conscious decision. It's just that I love it so much, I don't want to disconnect from it. I'm eating, breathing, living just that throughout.
And what kind of a toll does that take?
Well, I don't know any other way of doing it. I wouldn't want to do it any other way. The point of doing something like this is that it should empty you completely. Or any work you do. It has to completely consume you. I mean, it's so exciting, I can't tell you.
Whatever it is, it's working for us as viewers. So keep doing it. But Tillotama, as I was telling you, I loved your introduction scene. I love the crazy that you brought to this role. And obviously you had a lot of fun bringing all of that to screen. I'm sure. Tell me about it.
I was really... the high point of it was the action sequence, and it was a really long sequence. Starts with conversation and then her getting overpowered and then her overpowering, and that was super fun. That was really super fun because it almost felt like we were staging a play because we rehearsed the whole thing. It was going to be in one take, and David, our wonderful DOP, it was handheld, the camera movement. So I almost felt I was attached to David with, telepathically, because we had to move together. We had to fall back together. We had to fall down together, And that was like dancing with your cinematographer, and that was really fun. And I've not done action before. And so that was super, super fun.
Yeah. That was a bloody good scene. Yeah.
Super fun to do, I mean, if I actually start thinking about what does it mean to engage in gore and violence, I think I would be very disturbed. But I was so excited about the action that everything, felt like all I needed was a cape that was flying
No, not all heroes wear capes.
I know, I'm saying, but in my head, I felt I had one,
Yeah.
To be able to just be part of an orchestrated scene like that, which is choreographed with, and it needs everyone on that set to come together for that long period of a take, That was super fun.
And in that car, did you feel a little bit like Joker with your head out, throwing those clothes? Yeah, was that your intention as a maker? Maybe.
I was feeling really cold, and I wish I was wearing another hoodie inside, but we didn't have time. But no, I didn't think.
You didn't
about Joker. No.
What about you? Did you, Tanuj? Maybe you're not telling. Okay, now the most difficult question to you. Now in season 1, I understood the gore. I understood, the reason to show it. Everybody needed to see what had taken place. It was a story of Nirbhaya, and we had to tell it without any, and let people go through that. in this season again, there's a lot of gore. It is not very stylized. It's just there in your face. What was your reason for depicting it like this?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, when we first started the show, you know, the IP of the show was not to show the crime, although there was, you know, a bloody victim in the hospital too. So there is gore in season 1, in my opinion, to a degree. But my introduction, and so we started the season, you know, trying to keep that alive. But my introduction to the crime and all my research, it was images like this. This is the result of what the gang has done. And the problem is this season is, you know, some people who know about these crimes, yes, they're very intimately connected to them. But if you don't know of these crimes, you don't understand why the cops are chasing down these criminals. What's the urgency? You know, what's the weight? So it was important to, you know, it was important to put some visuals for the audience, so they understand the seriousness, the severity of this case, and they understand the case itself. The show only started gaining gravity when we included those images, and it's mostly because it's not a known crime. Season 1, the details of the crime are so. They're there for everybody. You don't have to do a thing. You could never show a single image of any, you know, of any of the real time, you know, moment, and audiences are bringing it in with them. We didn't have that this season, so that was the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lesser known one, maybe popular in the 90s, as you're mentioning. I didn't know the details of this crime, right? Like, I missed that that generation. So this crime, of course, whenever I see something of this, I go and look it up, and this one is fictionalized. So what kind of freedom does that provide you as a maker to, you know, deal with a fictionalized story?
Well, you know, it's everything is it's a true crime fiction, you can say, because it is fictionalized, but everything in this crime is taken from a real story, a real incident. Even Tillotama's character is taken from a real character, Neha Verma, who had, you know, a beautician who had sort of.
Wow.
I don't want to give away too much.
No.
But everything is coming from a real place in this crime, and sometimes, you know, you have to go through a fictional route to get to a higher truth, or a higher truth about crime. So I think that's what this season does so well, is that it's able to merge a lot of real incidents, real case files, real stories, you know, and turn it into something that achieves a different resonance that you can't get through a singular docudrama.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes you can just say more when you are saying it through fiction as well. And we will get to that. And interestingly, your prep also mirrored fiction mirrored reality, because in this series you get promoted, and I read that the you know, the officer that you were trailing, she got promoted to the same post as you. How cool is that?
Yeah, in fact, when I went to meet her, I told her somebody should be making a film on us meeting every season, you know.
Wow. Cute.
It's quite lovely, yes.
And I also loved how, see, the two of you have your own struggles. You're struggling with your daughter, you know, trying to maintain that dynamic. You have your domestic issues. Of course, you know, sets of problems that people think are unique to everyone, but unique to women, right? And I love the kind of empathy the two of you always bring to your characters. But this time around, you know, how did you approach this even in Jalsa, we saw that dynamic being explored so beautifully. And of course, another facet of this being explored here. How did you approach it?
You mean, how did I approach the personal side of
Yeah, the personal side. And I don't know, you laid it bare so beautifully. So did that come easily after talking?
It did, because it is the story of so many women around us, and it's not something, it's unfortunately something that you seem to have inherited, even though if it didn't if it hasn't happened to you. You know, it's somehow something that you know as a woman living in a patriarchal society, and that's sad. I mean, I wish I didn't know it so easily, but I think really doing a part like this, where you sort of where there's a very gentle exterior to this person, but there's a firmness to her, and there's a need to sort of really hold on to things that she thinks precious, and really guard her area while still being compassionate to people around her, is something I've seen women do all the time. And just when I do parts like this, I just feel a lot of respect for the women I grew up with, you know. And I think in some way or the other, just interactions through my life have been preparation for a part like this.
yeah.
It's not something that I needed to go and watch. It was just there, and you, with a well-written script and a director who gives you space, all of it sort of emerges. But yeah, the professional side of things was when I spent time with the police officer who I shadowed in season 1, and then I shadowed her in season 2, and I was a fly on the wall in her office for about 5 days, and it's absolutely fascinating to sit in a police station for 5 days. I have life experiences worth 10 years, I think, in those 5 days, because it's just tremendous, the responsibility that they have and the variety of events that they deal with. And I saw how much more confident she was at this time when I met her. There was just an understanding of how an event is going to transpire because there had been experience, you know. So even though there is a gentle exterior and there is a sincerity and a need to do a job, there's a comfort about the job, and there is an understanding that the system limits you in some way, but she's not so bothered by it or bogged down by it. She knows how to work with it. So yeah.
I love how you said that. Even if we have not dealt with it personally, it's the society has gifted it to us, you know, this sort of understanding what women go through. That's so beautiful, so beautifully put. Shefali, you are Madam Sir. You have become synonymous with Madam Sir now. Just like how we keep asking Rasika when is season 2 of this coming, season 3 of Mizrapur. I'm sure I've been asking you as well, when is season 2 coming? When is season 2 coming? Finally, you have an answer for it, and you got a chance to explore Madam Sir again. You know, what is the importance of this role in your career? Would you say, like, it's the most, you've become synonymous with Madam Sir now?
I'm possessed with her. Totally. Like, I cannot tell you or explain what Delhi crime and Vartika mean to me. You know, everyone knows that I had COVID. And we were scheduled for promotions in Delhi. And I'm not the most enthusiastic person as far as promotions go.
Yeah.
I think 2 days into my COVID, I spoke to Tanuj and I said, I will be fine and in Delhi on Monday. I psyched myself enough to get okay.
Wow.
I mean, it's a long drawn process of getting okay. And my reports, I cannot begin to explain what this character means to me. And of course, like you said, it changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed my life professionally. And you know, I could have done something, maybe a commercial film, which could have a smaller part, which could have been a big hit, which could have changed my life professionally. But this one did. And it's very dear to me. I mean, I feel lucky to be a part of Delhi crime. I feel lucky to be Vartika, and I feel a lot of pride in being her.
You know, Vartika was completely immersed in season 1 because that was the nature of the crime as well. You know, it just, you needed to be consumed by it. But in season 2, you know, now the audience also knows that she deals with these cases on a very regular basis, and she also needs to kind of, kind of have some distance to do her job better even, perhaps. But I don't think you've taken that from her. I think you've become even more immersed in this season.
You know, you correctly said, in the first one, it was very personal. In the second one, this is what she does every day. It doesn't take away the severity of the situation, crime, or solving it. I mean, the urgency is there, but I also feel she kind of, not disconnects, but distances herself, otherwise she'll go mad.
Yeah.
If she wouldn't be able to think rationally enough. And that is her strength also, that she can distance herself, but you know that it's really bothering her. She takes everything personally. Also, you know, one of the things that Tanuj and me were discussing is, did she do a good job because it was Nirbhaya? No, she does a good job, or at least aims at doing it no matter what the crime. You know, and that is, I think, the strength of her.
Yeah, and she stands up for what is right, you know.
She stands up for what is right.
Even though it's a dilemma and it's a conflict, inner conflict, it's not so easy. You know, it's not so black and white.
No.
But
And she doesn't, she questions it.
Yeah.
She questions herself.
Yeah.
So she has at some point of time, she can see clearly.
Yeah.
You know, she knows the power she holds, but she also understands that I can falter, and I have faltered. How do I correct this now?
I like the understanding the two of you have of your characters. That really comes when you play a series. And it's fun. It's tough for you as a maker to come in with that understanding because the two of them have already been playing it. Tillotama, the two of them empathize a lot with their characters. I'm not going to ask you, did you identify with this murderous person? Yes, we all identify with people on a lot of different
Maybe
levels.
she did.
Maybe they shouldn't know.
We won't ask that. We just pretend like you're completely removed.
Of course, she's such a nice person, Tillotama. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What's the question?
No. How did you tap into that murderous rage? Who did you borrow it from?
Look, I don't think I borrowed it from any person, but one of the most significant acting schools in my life was teaching and working at Rikers Island, which is a high security prison in New York. And I was there with them for almost 2 years and working with both the male and the female inmates. And I didn't realize it then that's actually the best acting school I could have chosen, not chosen, you know, because they are serving time. And in cinema, in film, we are capturing time, you know. It can be a drama which spans a day, a decade, years, but it's just managing time. And so their stories, their way of telling it, it was just observational, like the amount of stuff that I got, that after that, when I came to Bombay, I could walk into an audition room armed with multiple choices at my disposal because I just observed. And so that was Rikers was a huge, and the students at Rikers who I worked with, I like to call them students and not inmates, were my massive teachers and inadvertently became a great, you know, thing for this part. Also, what intrigues me since I started working at Rikers Island was the idea of crime and punishment. I've often struggled with it, that the idea of punishment is something that we do often as a band-aid. We never solve the problem, you know, and working within the correctional facility where you feel you're on the right, obviously, because you're not in prison, you're just going to visit, and you're going to do therapy and rehabilitation work with those who are guilty of committing heinous crimes. But once you read their stories and read their files, most of them, for acting out in class, when they were students, were put on a drug called Ritalin. The side effects of that drug when they become adolescent is depression, so then they're put on antidepressants. They are largely from the minority community, which doesn't have access to healthcare, education. So you see that the system is rigged for their failure. The system thrives from the crimes that they commit. The system needs them to be criminals. And so for me, when this part came to me, I really, like, the thing that touched me the most about her was the judgment she faces for leaving her child.
Yeah.
A man wouldn't face it. तुम अपनी बच्ची को छोड़ के कैसे चली गई? She asks me that question. And I'm like, lady, if you care so much, take care of my child, na?
Yeah.
Why do all women, we have to, like, there's such a pressure that this is an essentialist quality a woman has.
वो माँ है, she can't leave her kid.
She can't leave her kid, but what her dream, her personal aspirations had no space in that social fabric. You know, so I loved that about her. And she reminded me of Becky Sharp in Vanity Fair, who also wants to rise the social ladder and comes so close, and just at the 11th hour, somebody will find out about her lineage. That she's born of she's a bastard child, you know, and she would lose it, but she has all the social graces, the etiquette, she can play the piano, speak languages, wear the prettiest of dresses. She can transform like a chameleon, like, you know. And Karishma worked in a beauty parlor, and she picked up things from her boss. Like, she would wear leopard print jackets, so I'm going to wear a leopard print jacket. I'm going to wear stockings with, you know. So these are people, like, I could relate to that. That aspirational value is so high that they are willing to break the roles that are you know, they're told that they have to stay within this, and I really empathized with that this, you know, not wanting to be a mother, having this massive, you know, this aspiration for herself, and her idea of, and we saw so many charismas, you know, ever since I did the dress trial and the costume, and then whenever we would be traveling anywhere, I would send Tanuj photographs of, I just saw charisma, and I just saw somebody in leopard print tights and this, and it made me feel like this, we create certain icons, you know, and there's all these media hoardings and billboards of the aspirational life. And then we're so surprised by crime when the disparity is so much.
When we try to increase the disparity between the haves and have-nots, it's a vicious cycle.
So like, it's like how Shefali says there are no born criminals. It's really true, because having worked in the correctional facilities, it's often the state is benefiting from that crime, and the crime is a result of the neglect of the state.
Yeah.
You know, but we have to punish, because otherwise, how do you feel sane? But the punishment is not necessarily going to work, because most people who commit crimes and are let off after they finish the time that they've served come back. Why are they coming back? Because the system hasn't changed. You know, so I really felt for her, yeah. I really felt for her because, I mean, she reminded me of all the incredibly brilliant young people that I met and had the privilege of meeting and knowing their life stories while I was at Rikers, and people who are on the other side of the law. And if the line between sanity and insanity is a thin one, the line between being guilty and innocent is an even thinner one. It's just a matter of chance that when I went through that hard time in my life, I had amazing friends and family to not make me do something that would hurt somebody else and, you know, be illegal. But Vartika has a really supportive husband, which is why she can do this. You know, you see what Rasika's character, Neeti, has to go through when she doesn't have a husband as supportive as Vartika's, and Karishma had none of that. You know, she wasn't allowed to have her dream.
She had to snatch it. Literally.
She had literally snatched it. So you want to judge her for being a criminal? Sure. But I could have easily been her. You know, and that's what you realize actually when you work within the prison system.
That if you were put in the same conditions...
Would I be any different?
It wouldn't have been any different. That's so beautiful. Thank you for a glimpse into your mind, Tillotama. It's an amazing place to be. And I wish I could keep talking to all of you. You know, I have so many more questions. But just quickly touching upon the theme that she said, the fact that the system is rigged against some people. The series explores that, so do watch it. Thank you so much for talking to me. An absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.